we're going to talk about a case that went cold for decades. It's a case that in 1991, there were 4 teenage girls who were at a yogurt shop in Austin, Texas. Remember those I can't believe it's not yogurt places? I think that we all thought that it was absolutely great for us. And then there's that Seinfeld episode. All right, I digress. Anyway, people died because people were killed. And modern DNA has now identified who the perp is. HBO is coming out with I believe, some type of show about it. Let's look at that clip and then we'll talk about it.
In 1991, 4 teenagers were shot and murdered inside a yogurt shop in this strip mall.
I don't know that the city of Austin has ever been the same.
It was just unspeakable.
The place was set on fire. They were bringing in anybody who was a little bit different.
No, just vulnerabilities.
I killed somebody.
They're using techniques that can lead to false confession.
We were asking for any tip.
People started calling me. We had so many suspects.
But it was never solved.
Yeah, this looks like one I'm going to want to watch, right? This looks interesting. All right, so Jonna, justice after all this time. Apparently, through DNA, they were able to identify the perp. His name is Robert Eugene Brashers. Boy, we sure like to say someone's name and hold them accountable when they're alive, right? It's not as sweet, right? Yeah.
So, this was really a cold case. And look back then in the 1990s and earlier, it was hard. We didn't have the technology that we have today. Now we do. So we can solve some of these cold cases, but we do like to have a defendant sitting at the defense table when we do. In this case, we don't, because through genetic genealogy, they did manage to find the perp, but the perp had killed himself, I believe, several years earlier. It still gives closure, so that's a good thing. But this is a very interesting dig into this very cold case that we now have been able to solve.
Geragos, what troubles me about this story was that in 1999, they had a task force led by the Austin Police Department, and they rounded up 4 men. They were teenagers around the time of the murder, and they were questioned and released, lack of evidence. But then 2 of them were later arrested and convicted. 2 innocent people were convicted. The appellate court finally set aside their guilty verdicts, but this was a miscarriage of justice for those 2, huh?
So one of the things you often hear, I'm sure you two get all the time, is how do you defend these people when you know they're guilty? How do you sleep at night? How do you say? How many times have you heard that? I always say, I sleep fine because I'm holding the government accountable. What makes me lose sleep is when I believe somebody is innocent. And so this is a perfect example of that. And this is why you need criminal defense lawyers. Otherwise, by the way, speaking of sleep, brought to you by the same state that they had to go to the appellate court to find that it was ineffective assistance of counsel when the criminal defense lawyer was asleep at counsel table. So I think better late than never on these things. I get that there is not as much satisfaction, but the fact that people will recognize that you can get caught up in the hoopla and the circus around something and that you may not have the evidence, I think that's an important lesson to be learned.
Let's put down the pitchforks sometimes, folks, and don't believe everything you see in the media. Let's see what the evidence yields. Not everybody's guilty, as Geragos says. By the way, they used the same technique in this case, which was the genetic genealogy that they used to solve the 2018 Golden State Killer case. So we're going to see a lot more of that in the future.